Gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Welcome to the Hollywood Casino Press Box with your host, Frank Cusumano.
Here's the pitch. Line drive, there it is! Into left field! Hit number 3,000! A run is scored! Musial ran first! On his way to second with a double!
The best interviews and the most informed insight.
And that's McGaffey breaking free, has a seam and a crease. The kicker can't trip him up. Headed for the end zone. Will it be back-to-back weeks? Yes!
All tied together with the experience of over 20 years of local broadcasting excellence in St. Louis.
Now Stasny gets away from a check to Fabry. Wide open. Oh, Brower! Rebound! He scores! Trevor! The former Blackhawk has given the Blues a 3-2 lead.
Now, here is Frank Cusumano on 590 The Fan, 105.7 HD2 FM, and InsideSTL.com.
Good morning and welcome. Hollywood Casino Press Box on the all-new 590 The Fan, KFNS. Frank Cusumano with you until 12 o'clock. We think we have a real fine program lined up for you. Greg Brown, the voice of the Pirates, a real good guy. He's going to be joining us at 10:30. We'll talk about this series and also about what's going to happen on Sunday night in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. 11 o'clock, Patrick Risch. Why is St. Louis being passed up by every city? What are we doing wrong? How devastating is this latest news about the Scott Trade Center and what's going on downtown to our city right now? And then Matt Whiteside, former big leaguer and a professional for 17 years, pitched in the big leagues for a long time. He knows pitching. He teaches and preaches it almost every day of his life with the St. Louis Gamers. We're going to talk to him about some of the Cardinal pitchers today at about 11:30. Now, I reside in the town of Creve Coeur, but with what has happened in my house in the last couple of months, I think I may be living in Transylvania. As I mentioned a couple of months ago, young Brooke came running down the steps and said, "Mom, Dad, there's a bat in my room." And so we had to call the Animal Protection Service, whatever it is, and they came in and actually, Monique, first of all, went up there with a tennis racket, I was afraid, and she whacked it, but she did not kill it, and she brings it down, and the bat escapes, and then almost bites Brooke and myself, so then we called Animal Protection. So last night, 11:15, back from work, and Dom comes hurtling down the steps. "Mom, Dad, there's a bat in my room, and it's going crazy." So we had to call the Animal Protection people again. And this bat, we opened the door just for a little bit, was really flying around. And it was a decent-sized bat. Of course, I was scared blankless, and I did not want any part of trying to swat this bat with a tennis racket or anything. And so we called the Animal Protection Service, and this little woman comes over, and she's about 5'2". Now, keep in mind, she's not wearing any type of headgear or mask. She has short-sleeve shirt on, and she says, "Okay, where's the bat?" I said, "What's in that room? But it's big and it's really moving fast." She goes, "Okay." And she walks right by me. I said, "Wait a minute. You're just going to go in like that?" And she didn't even have like a weapon. She brought in, like, you know those things you get at the gas station, the large, like Slurpees, whatever? She brought in that, and then she didn't even put on gloves. And somehow she cornered the bat and put it in the big Slurpee glass and walked out. I felt so feminine. I was like a little mouse. And this little 5'2" woman just comes in there and not scared. I said, how many times you've done this? She goes, about 20 times. Unbelievable. So bats going wild in Creve Coeur. All right, our opening monologue is brought to you by Gateway Motorsports Park. And let's begin with lap one. In a season of excruciating losses, that one just adds to the list. I don't know if it's the most painful, but it's on the list. You are a strike away from a split in Boston, and that's a good thing with the 2017 bombastic hitting Boston Red Sox. But your closer was compromised. He had to leave, and the Brebbia versus Betts matchup didn't work out well, did it?
They can take off here. 3-2. There's a shot. Line for the wall. That's going to get Green. One run in. Here he comes. Here he comes. The throw.
What a collection of throws, too. I mean, God bless Tommy Pham, who is a great player, but wow. And then it wasn't a great throw by DeYoung either, and Yachty didn't make a great play on it. That was brutal. Thoughts come aboard. Lap 2. Some random Cardinal thoughts before we get specific about a couple of individual players. I don't think I've ever seen Trevor Rosenthal throw a fastball 91 miles per hour. I mean, when did Trevor Rosenthal turn into Seth Maness? It was right before our very eyes. And I don't know if you've heard a very interesting interview with Derek Gould this morning on the morning show, the morning after. He mentioned the word Tommy John. He said this could have the trappings of a Tommy John type of situation. Remember last year, Boris insisted that Trevor, get looked at, and they dodged a bullet then. But is Trevor like all pitchers today that throw hard? Eventually it's going to have to happen? That was scary last night. And what is up with the velocity of so many Cardinal pitchers, or shall I say, what is down? Leake, Waino, and now Trevor Rosenthal. And of course with Rosenthal, it's the most meaningful and the most dramatic. And why is Jack Flaherty still in Memphis? Another great outing last night. 77 Ks and 21 walks. I got to tell you something, folks. If the goal is to have your best players or your best arms on the major league roster as you try to get in the postseason because you're just a scant game and a half out of first place, well, that arm has to be one of the better ones in the Cardinal organization. If they have 45 pitchers on the major league roster right now, I bet you he's one of the top 45, or shall I say top 13. And likewise for Luke Weaver. Or you simply have them both take the starts of Waino and Leake, but that looks like it's not going to happen. Waino tonight, Leake on Sunday. I do wonder, though, if they have to sit down Trevor, do they bring up one of these guys and make him that 7th or 8th inning weapon? And what do you do in the 9th inning? I kind of like the way O is slotted right now. You know who's the best candidate for the 9th inning? Tyler Lyons. Tyler Lyons is the best candidate right now for the 9th inning. All right, God bless the tenacity of Matt Carpenter. I know he's a hard worker. But is he the worst base runner on this team? He's now a negative 1.3 in that base runner runs against average stat. The reason he doesn't have the worst number, because even DeYoung has a lower number, it's even more negative, but as Brendan and Mr. Forsey pointed out today, he's on base the most, so he's going to have the most opportunities. So he's had good base running plays, but boy, last night, I don't know if I've ever seen it. Guys, have you ever seen a guy at third base not scoring a base hit? Have you ever seen that in your life? Pete, Brennan? No. Everybody's shaking their head. So Chris Siegel had a brutal night umpiring behind the plate. Not Angel Hernandez-like, but really bad for 3 hours. And I got to tell you, I know Mike Matheny has a lot of detractors. He got a lot of supporters, at least for a couple of minutes last night when he went after him. He protected Yachty and went after him. Randy Carricker tweeted out last night, Matheny is the only manager that a local broadcast organization doesn't have to worry about having the mics up full when he's arguing because he's probably not going to cuss. But man, was he hot. He cooled down a little bit after the game.
Said he needed timeout, and that just didn't. The fact that he was just kind of going at it with our catcher, just hate to see that particular point of the game. But, a lot of barking going on almost all game long with strike zone and called. Not getting a call on a check swing in a big situation, just trying to get guys to do the job in big situations, and a lot of frustration at the end.
Fox Sports Midwest ratings. I'd like to find out what they did last night, because that was incredible TV. I mean, at one time, Larry said, gosh, this game's been going on for 3.5 hours. Yeah, it has been, but I couldn't stop watching it. I mean, there were so many things involved. And Danny Mac and McCarver are a great duo. Danny Mac was particularly brilliant last night. How could you be watching anything else in St. Louis last night? Not even Netflix is as good as Cardinal baseball. All right, lap 3. Lance Lynn. You know, our buddy Earl Austin had this expression, and we used to use it as a drop. The kid's got moxie. Do you love this big lug or what? Laboring in that final inning, couldn't find the strike zone for 7 pitches, but he just keeps battling and battling, and then he finished off the 6th inning in style.
3-2. Could be 2. 4-6. 3 on the double play. The emotion of Lance Lynn.
For the most part, yeah. I was able to start mixing in some breaking balls middle innings there, and got some outs with it. And that's what you got to do. You got to kind of mix and match and go as you can.
Well, I yelled. I was yelling after that double play ball. A couple of people from the assignment said, "What are you yelling about?" I go, "Just watch what Lance Lynn just did." I'm not saying he was Chris Carpenter in Philly in Game 5, but 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, without your best stuff, and just one of them was earned, is a heck of an outing. There are a lot of pitchers fungoed out of Fenway. And do you really think that Lance is going to go away? That all of a sudden he's going to turn into a ham and egger? No. Folks, it's for the taking for the next 5 years. And according to Derek Gould, it will be expensive.
It's going to start with the 1. I know. I don't think it's any secret if the Cardinals went to him today after the start or before the start and said, here's what we're going to do. It's going to be this many years, and it's going to start with this 1. And are you interested? You go, yep, and he'd take it. Now, it's also not unusual for the Cardinals to say, well, let's see what the market feels about you before we do this. Because right now it's a one-on-one conversation, and maybe both sides would benefit from a third party saying, no, we side with this. It's a faulty example, but it's the best one I got. It's sort of like using the market as an arbiter, right?
Yeah, it's good.
Where the Cardinals have this offer, Lance wants this number, and the market says, yeah, we'll go with one of these two, and gives both the direction on where they should head.
Yeah, and the market is going to be 100, maybe even a little bit more. Not my money, but I see this staff. I see Mike Leake. I see Adam Wainwright. Not confident about 2018. I love all those young pitchers, but once again, they've won as many games in the major leagues as I have. This is St. Louis, okay? This is the town that gives you $3.4 million, even with a mediocre team. They deserve Lance Lynn. They deserve to see Lance Lynn 1 out of every 5 days. They deserve to see a guy who's going to win 15 or 16 for the next 5 years. Anybody disagree with that? Anybody think, it's a bad idea to bring Lance Lynn back? Come on. All right, lap 4. Another positive. 3 years after the Cardinals chose Lance Lynn in the first round, they picked Kolten Wong. Lance is a proven commodity. Kolten is getting closer and closer. The offense was on display once again last night.
And that's a base hit into center field. Here comes Molina. The throw goes to third, run scores, and it's 1-0 St. Louis. Kolten Wong drives in his 32nd of the year.
3 more hits. The average is at .310. The on-base percentage is almost .400. Imagine if he finishes with a .400 OBP. Granted, not a great deal of power, and granted, he's not a Gold Glover yet. He has some, kind of inexplainable errors, but the tools are there. He really does have, great athletic skills. He has soft hands. He has a good arm. No reason why he couldn't be a really good fielder before it's all said and done. He's starting to figure it out, folks. He knows how to handle adversity now. The Cardinals should have their second baseman, I think, for years to come. You know what you do with Kolten Wong from here on out? You play him 6 out of 7 times per week. Rest him maybe against the lefty. Nice to see a talented athlete who's a nice guy and very conscientious, overly conscientious, finally realizing his potential. All right, lap 5. All right, let's go to a different topic. The Blues. For an organization that does a lot for this city, they just are not being shown a lot of love. They can't get that practice rink built without all sorts of protest from these bird lovers in town. And then downtown, the alderwoman Kara Spencer said the plan is unconstitutional and not fair to taxpayers. We're talking about the $64 million in renovation. It was passed. It appears to be law, and now it's being held up. So the Blues have to fund these renovations themselves till the money from the bonds have been released. Now, if you're a sports fan or just an advocate of St. Louis progressing, it has to be disheartening. Now, I know the city has needs to address, but this is an organization that generates millions of tax dollars for the city. It's not welfare for millionaires like so many of these stupid politicians are saying. They're just getting beat up. Anybody who's trying to step up and do good things for the city and try to improve the sports landscape, well, they got to be asking themselves, why are we doing this if we have everybody working against us? You saw what happened with the soccer saga. Who wants to invest if you have people who fight you tooth and nail? The comptroller won't release the funds. Jeff Rainford was on with Charles and Martin yesterday with some strong thoughts.
So first and foremost, it's a good project, and it is smart for the taxpayers. The bill actually has sources of revenue to pay the money back, so it's a good project. But beyond that, even if you don't like the project, we are a nation of laws, and we are a city of laws, and the comptroller does not have the authority under the city charter to, in essence, veto a bill passed by the Board of Aldermen and signed into law by the mayor. Only the mayor can veto bills. The bill directs the comptroller to sign some documents. The reason for that is somebody in city government has to make sure that those documents are in order. It's what is known as a ministerial duty, which means she does not get to say, Board of Aldermen, you're wrong, I'm not going to do it. And so the Kiel Center partners yesterday went into court to get a judge to interpret the city charter, which in essence says that the Board of Aldermen passes laws and only the mayor can veto the laws, not the comptroller, and ask a judge to compel her to sign the documents so the improvements can happen.
So who does this comptroller think she is, or he is? Is it a he or she? I don't even know. It's a she, okay. Who? I mean, it's been passed. You can't stop it. Only the mayor can stop it. So let's keep the fighting progress. Let's just keep this going, and let's keep the money away from the Blues. And you know what's going on right now? Kansas City zooming past us. Was that Nashville that just went by? Hey, there goes Indianapolis. Is that Louisville coming up now? Watch out for Louisville. But we're going to improve our schools by depriving the Blues of the money they deserve. Yes. Hey, look, we can solve multiple problems at the same time. We really can. You can help the Blues and work on public safety. You can bring the MLS here and improve schools. You can do that. You can fight crime too. It's incredible. All right, lap 6. Non-sports angle of the monologue. So yesterday, I went to the Gatesworth to have lunch with my 90-year-old mother, Mary Grace Cusumano, who, if she didn't fall in a pothole about a year ago, would still be going to work every day at Kemal's. She's still in pretty good shape. So anyway, we eat at this table, and we're often joined by some of her friends. I used to just want to eat with Mom, but these elderly people all have a story to tell, and I didn't move a muscle or eat a thing for 5 minutes while somebody told this story. So we're talking to this 87-year-old man who was really sharp, looked great. And I said, boy, have you always been in good health? He said, no. When I was 67, I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Now, if you're familiar with that form of cancer, you know it's a death sentence. Nobody beats it. In fact, he was told he had a few months to live by his doctor. And he said his doctor was one of his best friends, and the two of them cried in the doctor's office together. He was a Jewish man. His brother-in-law was a Christian pastor. And his brother-in-law called him as soon as the diagnosis became public. And his brother-in-law was relentless. Came to visit him, and he prayed over the phone. And then he sent Bible passages for this man to read every night. And then he went to Florida and prayed with him. And slowly but surely, this man started to convert from his Jewish religion to Christianity. The lifelong Jewish man became a Christian. So then he has this surgery. Now, I'm very familiar with pancreatic cancer because I lost my best friend John Phelan to that about 5 years ago, Mary Phelan's brother. So doctors, what happens with pancreatic cancer, they remove it, but then in almost all cases, they don't get it all and it spreads, and that's how it gets you. So doctors removed it, but they were stunned because of what normally happens with pancreatic cancer. It didn't spread. It was stopped. The surgery removed it all, and it didn't spread to any part of his body. It never came back. This 87-year-old man is a portrait of health. And he says he's only for sure about one thing in life, the Lord. It was so quiet as he told this story to myself, my mother, and 2 other ladies. Now, he says, look, I've prayed about other things and it didn't work out. He lost his wife to Alzheimer's and a daughter to cancer. But he's just a believer. I mean it, nobody moved at this lunch table for about 5 minutes. He wrapped up the story and then we ate. It really is an amazing story of faith. All right, those are some of my thoughts. Let's hear some of yours. What did you think of the umpire last night? What did you think of Mike Matheny going after the umpire last night? Anybody think it's a bad idea to let Lance Lynn walk and have him go to Chicago and win 16 for them, beat the Cardinals 3 or 4 times a year?